If you've ever thought about making a mechanical watch from a kit, this video is for you. I picked up a DIY Watch Club lucky bag on sale. We're going to build it right now. Follow along and see how easy it is to build your own watch. Okay, let's have a look at what's in the box. So it comes in a nice solid box. This is the shipping box. There's some material on top to protect it. There's a kit. Okay, and this contains our face and hands, movement, case, nylon strap. Pretty basic watch, but it's a good price. There's also instructions, a discount code for later, which I always forget to use, which is kind of crazy. But try and save the discount codes and use them because they give you an even better deal. There's a box with a case back opener. There's also a tool set. And it comes fairly nicely packaged. The box is going to be reusable. And you have all the tools that you need to be able to build your watch, which is pretty cool. I'm probably not going to use the tool set that much because I have other tools that I like to use. But there's everything that you need in here. So some basswood for cleaning things up, nice pair of tweezers, hand tools so that you can push the hands on, hand removing tools. There's a blower so that you can blow stuff off. Yes, the ever useful finger cuts. A dial protector for when you're removing the hands, and cleaning cloth, and some magical stuff for removing dust. So these are sort of essential tools. This is a case back opener. There's a loop so that you can see what you're doing. And then in this one, we have a loop holder and a stand for you to put your iPad on or your phone. The kit will come with a card that has a link to instructions, and it's really handy to put your phone or an iPad or a tablet in the little stand and follow along with the instructions on the DWC website. So here's a quick illustration of using the stand. I put my iPad in it, and this is what I use when I'm building just to follow along. It's actually a really useful add to the tool set, and I'm glad they put it in there. Let's look at our components in a bit more detail. I'm not going to go into too much depth about building the watch because I've done other videos about that, but it's interesting to see what's in here. So first off, we have our strap. Basic nylon strap. It's going to be a watch for somebody who's working, so that's a good thing. Got strap locks here, which we'll need. Our case, chapter ring, and the case itself. It's a nice robust case. Again, it's going to be good for working. Doesn't have a domed lid. It's nice and straightforward. Movement, which is right here. This is a TMI movement. It's basically a Seiko movement. And then this little box, be super careful with, okay? It has inside hands and the watch dial. Okay, and it's packed very nicely in foam. You can see that here. When you take it out, just be super gentle with it because you don't want to bend anything. There's two envelopes, essentially. And inside of one of these, there's going to be a watch dial. Okay, nice basic watch dial. One thing I really like about DIY Watch Club is their design. You know, it's not overdone. It's not trying to look like, you know, something else. We're not trying to make, you know, a Rolex clone or whatever. It's nice and original. The other cool thing about DIY Watch Club kits that you're going to notice from here is you get two sets of hands. This is really useful in case you make a mistake and bend a hand. So far, touch wood, I haven't had to use any extra hands, but it's great that they supply them. So that's the kit. First thing we're going to want to do is open up our case and take out some of the components. So we're going to need a case back opener, and this is my favorite case back opener. Let's see if we can get it open with that, and we can. Beautiful. Okay, so just get it started with our magic 8-ball and then undo the rest of it with our hands. As the instructions state, when you take the parts off, place them facing down so that you're not going to get dust inside, because it's a pain to clean the dust out. Once we've done that, we can unscrew and we're going to get some tweezers. So let me grab tweezers and just pull out the seal for the back. In the instructions they said that they supplied a bag. I didn't see a bag, maybe I missed it, but I always keep a bunch of baggies around. These things are awesome. They're hard to open if you have gloves or finger cots on. Okay, and we can just pop that in there. I'm also going to pop this in there, and then that way we have it. Keep the dust off, flip this over. It's unclear if we're going to need this little adapter ring. I'll take a look when we put the mechanism in. And the chapter ring, I'm not going to do anything with that right now. I'm just going to set it aside. Okay, let's take a look at the movement. We're going to open it up very gently and just take the lid off of the packaging. We don't want to touch any of the moving parts in here. So probably the best way to deal with it is to lift it out. Okay, and we're going to place it face down over here. Okay, I really don't want to touch anything, particularly the balance wheel or any other mechanism. We're going to give it a quick wind just to make sure that we have it working. Make sure you're wearing finger cots while you do this. Okay, so I'm going to wind it, and we should be able to see that our movement is doing its thing, which it is. If I just move this aside, you can see that our movement is working, which is great. The next step is to install our dial. The dial has 2 feet on it, one here and one here. What you want to do is position your movement with the winder at the 3 o'clock position. Okay, and then we're just going to pick up our dial. You don't want to touch the front of the dial if you can avoid it, because we really want to keep it as clean as we can. And we're just going to put the dial on, okay? And you'll see that there are 2 holes in the mechanism that are going to allow us to push this down. Okay, and that is our fully assembled dial. Very nice here. This dial's beautiful. Look at it. It's got this sort of weird gradient on it as the light catches it at a different angle. I love that dial. Now, of course, you know, I didn't have any say in the parts that were in this kit. I really lucked out because I love this watch. It's looking really good. Now we're going to assemble our movement into the movement holder. This is reasonably easy to do. Just going to pick it up by the stem and gently fit it in. Don't want to use any force here, but we're just gently going to push it in here. Okay, just make sure that it's in all the way. Make sure that everything's moving. That looks great. Okay, and then again, there's 2 feet on the chapter ring, which we're just gonna locate. into the holes on here. Okay, next step is to sort the hands out. What we want to do is put our watch in the date setting function and adjust until the date just flips over. I did that earlier. It's not very interesting to watch. And then we need a few things. We need a hand setting tool. These come in the DIY watch kits. Need some Rodico. You get a small amount of Rodico in the DIY watch kits too. I use the Rodico to pick up the hand, so it makes it much easier to get around. And we're going to set the hand to the 12 o'clock position. Because this is pretty fiddly and I need to get close up with a loop, I may not actually be able to do this on the camera, in which case I'll do it off the camera. But we are effectively going to set this over the middle. So we have set our hour hand, and you can see that what we've done is try to keep it as level as we can. Okay, so I'm going to just rotate this around and get it, make sure that we're not fouling any of the markers, and just generally, yeah, that feels pretty good. So I think that's in the right place. Okay. Next we're going to do the minute hand. Okay, and then last of all we'll do the second hand. What I usually do is I just cut these out of the bag, and that way I leave the spares intact. Okay, so once again we're just going to drop that out. Okay, so here's our second hand, sorry, our minute hand. I use Rodico again to place it, and what I'm going to do again is just place it in the 12 o'clock position. I'm going to want to actually get the Rodico on top of this, so I need to flip it over. Okay, one side's finished and one side isn't with these hands, so you don't want to install them the wrong way around. And the same thing, I'm just going to drop it on here now. After a reasonable amount of shenanigans, we got all the hands on. One piece of advice is these little Bourgeon protectors. They're a really good idea. I did actually slip and scratch the face, which I'm sad about, but it's not the end of the world. We can pull this off and you can see, hopefully underneath, there's a little notch, so you don't want to be too aggressive in pulling these off. Okay, so this is our watch with our face. I think it looks really good. Unfortunately, there is a little scratch on there, but you know what? It's a war wound. We put this together. It took a while to get the second hand on, I will confess. And the main thing to do is, there's a few tips that I've got. I ended up using all of my hands, so you can see in this parts tray, I have the other hands. And really it's just a question of seeing, okay, are these gonna fit better than the other ones? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, you know, give it a try. But I'm actually quite pleased now because the watch is done, so the next part is to case it up and get going with that. Casing the watch follows the instructions on the DWC website for this watch. The parts that we put away earlier we're going to be using. The main thing about this part of the project is it's really all about fit and finish. You want to make, there's basically two things we're going to be looking out for. One is to ensure that we line everything up properly so that it looks good. And the second is to make sure that we blow any dirt out so that there's no dust or particles or anything else inside the watch. The little blower that comes with the kit is really handy for blowing dust out of the inside of the case, and make sure that you don't have any small particles in there. You can also use Rodico for this, and if there's any glue or anything else, you know, kind of residue from the materials used to put the watch together in the first place, you can always use the piece of basswood. You want to make sure that all the parts go in, so there's this small steel ring that goes on top of the inside chapter ring, and then we're going to place the assembly together inside and make sure everything lines up properly. So it's really a question of being careful. We'll then take the stem and insert the stem so that we can set the watch and wind it. Again, you want to be careful inserting this. It's going to go through the case into the mechanism, and it's easy to get it misaligned. The final part is to ensure that we get everything lined up properly. So make sure that you press it together and that everything fits correctly. It's worth taking a couple of looks at things. Once you've got it there, you can screw the back on loosely and get that together. One of the things that we're going to do with this, and this is going to be the next step, is to ensure that we put some grease on the gasket so that the watch remains waterproof. Before I assemble this, I'm just going to put the back on. That's going to prevent any dust coming in. Okay, two things that don't come in the watch kit that I feel are important. A little bit of grease for the gasket. This is just going to help with waterproofing. So what I do here is I'm just going to take our gasket out. Probably want to use some gloves here. So let me put the gloves on again. Where do you take? Here you go. Keep taking them off. Keep putting them on. I took them off because I don't want to get them greasy. Okay, so. All right. So I got this from a watch supplier, Esslinger. Great store. It's just silicone grease. So what we're going to do is we want to just run our gasket through here. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is just sort of run this through and get a bit of grease all the way on the outside. Okay, I'm sort of okay doing this now because I'm done really working on the inside of the watch. And then I put it into this little greaser on either side. And all this does really is, if I can avoid sticking myself to everything here, all this is going to do is really just kind of, so I put this in the little greaser. It's two sponges that kind of go against each other. And so I'm just turning this around and around, and that helps to distribute the grease on the gasket. The goal here is to get an even coating of the silicone grease on the gasket. This is really going to help with the water resistance of the watch. It gives us a better seal. Once we have an even coating of the silicone grease on the seal, we use our tweezers and carefully place the seal in the groove on the watch body. We'll then screw down the case back, and our watch should be pretty water resistant at that point. I don't have the means to test it, so, you know, this is all conjecture, but if you do the right thing happens. Okay, here's the watch. Put it all together. Use the elastic strap that came with it. It's a pretty serviceable strap, parachute sort of nylon strap, and I'm really pleased with the watch. It's come out really well. Once again, for me, the hard part was getting the second hand done. I think the trick there is, you know, really just take your time, be patient. It took me 3 attempts. Each one, you know, I'd go for about 10 minutes, and if it wasn't going well, I'd just come back to it. And I think the thing is to do it by feel, not to force it, not to use any force, just get it on there. And you'll see it'll start to turn once it's on if you're wound. So you obviously don't want the watch in the hacking position. Anyway, that's the project. Really enjoyed it. Fun thing to do. This is a thing for my son to take with him to summer camp and hopefully keep the time when he's working. So that's it. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.